Your favorite villain?
My favorite villain? I kind of like Diddy.
When people say I'm a troll, I say,
I don't know why you're saying I'm trolling people. I'm doing what you've conditioned me to do.
Jaguar Wright has finally spoken out about 50 Cent's explosive Diddy documentary, and her reaction to what was revealed on Netflix is seriously unsettling. She insists that what 50 Cent showed is only a fraction of the real story. Full recordings, key testimonies, and major industry-shaking incidents were intentionally kept out, simply because Netflix wasn't ready to go far enough and uncover the complete truth.
It was done impeccably well. That's the problem with it. It was done too well. It left out too many things.
So can you speak on Curtis Jackson? 50 Cent said that this is the first one.
I'm
He said
sure.
that there's hundreds of hours of more footage.
I'm sure. There was hundreds of hours of shit that was confiscated from all of Diddy's homes in that HSI raid that never made it to the trial. I wonder where it made it to.
That one line says everything. It left out too many things. Jaguar is not saying the documentary had no truth. She is saying it gave people just enough truth to keep watching, while allegedly hiding the deeper story.
Would you call the documentary educational, informational, entertaining? Where would you say this documentary?
Gaslighting.
Gaslighting.
And it's sad because there's a lot of stuff in there that's true. But there's enough left out to create doubt. And that's the same thing that happened with the trial.
Gaslighting. That is how Jaguar describes it, because in her view, the documentary used real moments, real pain, and real footage, but still left enough out to control what the audience believed.
It seems like
the story isn't over. I agree. Like, that's the thing. The story's not even being told. Because in order to tell the actual whole story, you would have to include everyone that is involved. But no, this is about saving the industry and blaming it all on Diddy. Saving the industry and blaming it all on Diddy. Okay, Diddy's going to jail. He's going to do his time. I don't know if I don't know what that appeal is looking like right now. Because see, the one thing that all of this documentary shit is doing is definitely fucking up his possibility for an appeal to get out early. Especially with the judge and them and the appeal board having to look at the footage of him sitting there with Mark Agnifilo, pretty much working on how to fix the trial.
and for him to be watching the feds watching him.
Yeah, filming. Filming the feds.
Now Jaguar reveals the bigger issue. She says the documentary was not really built to expose the entire industry. It was built to place all the blame on Diddy. And that changes the meaning of the whole film. Because if the real story involves more people, more protection, and more silence, then focusing only on Diddy makes him the perfect fall guy. Jaguar's point is simple. If this was truly a reckoning, then why were so many people missing from it?
I mean, they did what they needed to do in this documentary. The whole objective of this documentary was to blame it all on Diddy. The devil made me do it, blame it all on Diddy, and the rest of the industry is nothing like this. Like when Curtis Jackson sat there in his interview with Robin and sat there and said, I did this because I don't want people thinking that the hip hop community is okay with this kind of behavior. I don't want them thinking that, we're just going to be silent while all of this is going on. Like, we're okay with this kind of behavior. And my thing is So now you speaking for all of hip hop, and all of hip hop is uncomfortable with this. Meanwhile, you got people like Ja Rule who, on the low key, allegedly, Gene Deal has exposed for having his own nude tryst freak-offs with Diddy.
Yeah, and do you think that hip-hop culture was on trial as much as Sean Combs was?
Not all. Look, if I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as the hip hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that behavior.
If Sean Combs watches this, what do you think he's going to feel?
Like, wow, this is amazing. I think he's gonna say this is the best documentary I've seen in a long time. Because you'll see people saying that. I mean, he may feel a different way about pieces and bits of it, but he knows the truth.
50 Cent says he spoke up because silence would make hip-hop look like it supported Diddy's alleged behavior. But Jaguar sees it differently. She questions why the documentary made the story feel like one man's downfall instead of showing the larger system around him. Even 50 admits the film asks more questions than it answers, and that may be the real problem, because the audience got a shocking documentary story, not necessarily the full story.
He announced he was going to be doing the documentary December 2023 with Netflix. And the star footage that you use to get people to re-upload or resubscribe to Netflix to make this the #1 in their TV shows division for almost 2 weeks straight. Beating out Stranger Things. How much stranger is that?
I'm not Becky.
This footage didn't even exist when you said you were going to be doing this documentary. So we've got a videographer, a road videographer that has this very, very, very explosive, very explosive footage of him literally sitting on camera, planning how to go after survivors, how to poison the jury pool, how to fix his trial in advance before he's even arrested. I mean, like, is anybody not forgetting when Mark Agnifilo was sitting there talking to the sons in the hallway, and they're sitting there filming, and he's sitting up there, well, see, what we gotta do is we gotta go and we gotta put countersuits on all of these people. We have to create lawsuits ourselves. He's sitting there talking about creating lawsuits to affect public perception.
This is where Jaguar starts questioning the timing. 50 announced the documentary in December 2023. But Jaguar said some of the most explosive footage became important later. So she asks, if this footage was so serious, why did it show up in a Netflix documentary instead of being treated first as legal evidence? That question makes the story bigger than Diddy. Now it is about who had the footage, who controlled it, and who decided what the public was allowed to see.
Told me himself that they was going to spare no cost in doing this because he wanted to tell the story, and he wanted to tell the story like it was supposed to be told and everything like that. I said, yeah, okay. So then the director, I gotta get her name, man, because it don't even sound. I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy, and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about, you got footage, you got clothing, you got. I was doing footage. I had pictures, all the stuff that I had. You could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received, and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I was like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and go out of this documentary. And he definitely don't pay. He determine what somebody get paid. It's not his documentary like that. I was like, oh, so if it's not his documentary and I spoke to him like that, I don't need to be doing nothing with you because I'm doing this on the strength of him. But you gonna pay me if I do it. So it went back and forth, you know what I'm saying, for a little bit, and then they had Kirk Burrows giving me calls and everything like that. What are you calling me for? You know what I'm saying? I'm not. Get out of here. I know what kind of dude you is anyway. Me and you cool and everything, Kirk, but don't call me about no business with this stuff like that. And then what I found out is that he was making a deal, cutting a deal for himself as well as Tim. You understand? And I was trying to get a deal for all three of us. You understand? So that's how them industry cats go. You know, that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it like this. So then he called me back again, and I told him, like, listen, man, don't you ever call my phone again, Kirk? You know what I'm saying? Because we had got into it about somebody calling him. He told me Groovy Lou called him and wanted to know why Gene's still doing this to Puff and everything like that. And I mentioned it on the Gene Deal show. You understand? I said something. Then he called me back like I was lying. And listen to me, Kirk. Don't call me about what these clowns and these niggas say right here, bro. And especially don't call me talking about what I gotta fix. When in fact, you know what you told me and you know what our conversation was. You know what I'm saying? So the whole thing about why I'm not in the thing, the lady was talking greasy to me. She had no right to talk greasy to me. And then she told me that 50 didn't have the power to do anything, but they using his name to like push the whole documentary. And that's what it was about. So that's why you don't see a cameo other than the pictures they used of me on the film in the documentary. I got like 3 or 4 pictures in the documentary that I've seen of myself. You know, some people say they saw more, but I know three different times where I was certain places and you could actually see me in the documentary, and that's the only thing you're gonna get. But the stories that they told in the documentary, bruh, come on. They could have went a whole lot deeper. They could have did a whole lot more.
Gene Deal adds a major twist. He says he had real material, footage, pictures, clothing and stories from years around Diddy. But according to him, once he dealt with the production team, he realized 50 Cent did not fully control the documentary. That is important because 50's name was used to sell the project. But Gene claims the real decisions were being made somewhere else. So if Gene had deeper information, why was he barely included? His answer is simple. They did not want the deepest version of the story. They wanted the version they could control.
The behind the scenes footage they got of Diddy leading up to him getting arrested, and how you feel about all that, man?
Well, what I feel about the documentary, they left a whole lot of key things out. If they was gonna do something and they're gonna say in the reckoning of Sean Combs, the reckoning, or Diddy, the reckoning and stuff like that, it should have been a lot of people that we lost because of him. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't only Big, it wasn't only Tupac, you understand? For the atmosphere that he put those kids in. You got a guy named Anthony Wolf Jones, who was from Bad Boy, from its conception as doing security and being one of the financiers of Puff having to have some money to keep Big and Craig Mack around before he got to Clyde Davis. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't able to tell that story because they didn't have no intel on that story or what went down, or they didn't do their investigations right, which he also led up to the reason why Wolf ain't here today. You understand? They didn't tell that story. They didn't tell a story about Jessica Rosenbaum, who was at the City College situation.
Gene says the documentary left out key stories from Bad Boy's history. People who were around from the beginning. People connected to the atmosphere Diddy created. And people whose stories, according to Gene, deserve to be part of a real reckoning. That is why his criticism hits hard, because he is saying the documentary was not empty. It was incomplete.
He's talking about that with the kids in the hallway of the hotel, but he didn't know he was being filmed. That's been very, very, very cute. And TMZ and Diddy, oh my God, we can't believe. No, you lost track of the footage. Question is how did they lose track of the footage? And so I guess this this videographer was looking, because that happened fast, for him to turn over custody. And he didn't give it to 50 cents. It went to Netflix. Netflix secured that footage. So then that means that somebody in the Netflix world was in communication with his private videographer that was filming him, fixing his trial before he even got arrested.
Which may make sense. You know, videographers kind of know each other, and you know they kind of move.
Videographers kind of know each other to be able to make that move. Like usually, even if he didn't get paid, usually it's like 90 days before you start. You know, you got to put in an invoice and all of that stuff. Like his business machine was still businessing. You telling me nobody around him? That sounds like that sounds like a setup to me.
Sounds like a setup.
It sounds like a setup to me. And when you think about the fact that, you know, another conversation that we've been having, a lot of people aren't paying attention to the money behind the machine. You know, BlackRock, Vanguard, owners of Diageo, the company that Diddy tried to go after and had to settle out of court for, with sealed findings, and nobody really knows how that turned out before his life got turned upside down and HSI came in raiding, grabbing all kinds of evidence and all kinds of stuff. They're part owners in Netflix. Did you know that?
That's information.
The very company that has allegedly been going out of their way to work with the higher ups to make Diddy's life a living hell have a stake in the platform that's now ruining what's left of his reputation worldwide. But after his trial.
Jaguar then moves into the most serious question. If certain footage could be used in a documentary, why was it not central in court? Why was 50 not questioned more directly? And why did the documentary arrive after major legal moments had already passed? Then she brings up the money behind the machine, Netflix, corporate power, industry protection. And suddenly this is no longer just about one documentary. It becomes about who benefits when only part of the truth is released.
This is awful. That Diddy owes his life to Mark Agnifilo, literally his life, because he could have gotten life in prison were it not for Mark Agnifilo, his defense lawyer, who had a brilliant strategy. And Diddy screwed him over when he hired this videographer to chronicle his life without telling Mark Agnifilo that when Diddy and Mark were on the phone, this videographer was recording what Mark clearly expected to be an attorney-client privileged relationship. Now, it is true that the client holds that privilege, the lawyer doesn't, but Mark's clear expectation was that this was a private conversation. These were private conversations, and that he and Diddy could talk openly, and Mark could talk to Diddy not just as a client, but as a person, and tried to guide him in a time leading up to his arrest. And unbeknownst to Mark Agnifilo, Diddy has got this guy recording the conversation as he's sitting there saying, "You are screwing this up. You are messing up this case. We're losing." And knowing that
Harvey Levin's comments make the footage even more complicated, because now the issue is not only what Diddy allegedly did, it is that his own legal conversations may have been recorded. That kind of footage can damage more than just reputation. It can affect lawyers, strategy, appeals, and public perception. So the question becomes even bigger. Was this documentary exposing the truth, or was it releasing footage that created a whole new legal problem?
Overnight, lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs trying to stop the release of a Netflix docuseries due out today.
We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business.
The series contains never-before-seen footage of Combs debating strategy with his lawyers in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last year.
I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
It also includes video of Combs greeting fans in Harlem.
Lord, you win, be with it. I'll accept it.
And then saying this about the interaction moments later.
I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I got it. I've been out in the streets amongst the people. Yeah, I gotta take a bath. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do. You know what I'm saying? It's like 150 hugs.
Now Combs' lawyers are demanding Netflix pull the series, threatening legal action, claiming Netflix is using stolen footage that was never authorized for release as part of what they call a shameful hit piece. The series is executive produced by Combs' longtime rival, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, and director Alex Stapleton, who said, quote, "We obtained the footage legally and have the necessary rights," end quote. Before the cease and desist demand was sent yesterday, Stapleton and Jackson sat down with our Robin Roberts to discuss the series.
How do you respond to people who say that it's more about the disdain that you have for Sean Combs than it is for giving the victims a platform?
It's not personal.
The show is not completely the perspectives of people that did not like Sean. Not everyone needed to have an allegation to be a part of.
Diddy's team tried to stop the series, claiming the footage was unauthorized. Netflix and the filmmaker said they had the rights, but both sides prove one thing: this footage matters, because whoever controls the footage controls the story, and Jaguar's claim is that the story was still incomplete. Enough was shown to damage Diddy, but not enough, she says, to expose everyone around him.
You know, you got I want her. For the situation where they say he was trying to shape Misa into his mother, can you see that? Like,
Yeah, with the blonde hair and yeah, and all of that. I mean, somebody
really
asked a question: what kind of man puts his hands on his mother? The same kind of man that parties with his mom, the same kind of man who kisses his mom in the mouth, the same kind of man who seems to have accurate knowledge that his elderly mother can put both of her hands, her palms, on the floor and while she's standing up, bent over.
Oh damn, I ain't seen that one. Oh.
You never seen the Instagram video when he was talking about how his mom is still young and spry and how she still liked the party and how they was getting a IV drip?
Oh.
And she was kissing him in the mouth on the video when he was like, yeah, my mom can bend over and touch the floor with her palms. It's a very, very, very
Jaguar then shifts into Diddy's personal behavior and relationships. Her point is not just about scandals, it is about patterns. She suggests that Diddy's world was built around power, control, loyalty, and image. And when someone lives that long above consequences, Jaguar believes they start acting like no rules apply to them.
Why does it all come to a head now? Why now? Why?
Because he's the acceptable monster at this time, like R. Kelly was the last time I sat on this couch.
So who's next?
Y'all don't see the lineup?
Yeah, we see the lineup. I'm just waiting to see who's next.
Jay-Z is setting Diddy up. Why is everyone having such a hard time? He ain't doing shit different. He lined up D. Haven, stole his life and identity. He lined up Big L, stole his life and identity. He lined up Dame Dash, stole his life, identity, and took his love. Lined up R. Kelly. He wants to be the one.
Yeah, shout out D Haven. He actually hit us up, wanted to tell this story.
You need to talk to D Haven.
Yeah, we need to talk to him.
I told you that last year when I put you on the phone with him.
You did.
And then got ran into, and then I got thrown in a hospital by my insane husband, who's working for YouTube to make his mama pray.
So wait, Jag, I'm just curious because with Diddy,
You mean?
with Diddy settling within 24 hours, which has never been heard of, 30 million, or the lawsuit was 30, undisclosed amount. But
He
within
knew for 30 days that shit was fitting to happen.
within 24
He could have paid that
hours.
30 million before.
Yeah, why? Let that hit the fan. Did he?
Because he's Diddy.
He called a bluff?
Because yeah,
He should have enough money to
he
check.
put the boots to that girl. She's supposed to be a good bitch, no matter who she with. All the time he putting the groom in her. Of course he thought it was still gonna work. He thinks he's God. That ain't doing shit. Raped the fuck out of that bitch, put the boots to her last time I seen her. Her and her trainer, boyfriend, husband. I don't get no.
And this is where Jaguar's full message becomes clear. She is not saying Diddy is innocent. She is saying Diddy may be the one the industry is willing to sacrifice, the acceptable monster. The person everyone can blame. While the bigger system stays protected in the shadows, Gene Deal says they could have gone deeper. Jaguar says they left out too much. 50 Cent says the documentary tells an important story. Netflix says the footage was obtained legally, and Sean Diddy Combs' team says it was never meant to be shown. So now you have multiple sides, multiple versions, and one story that still feels incomplete because the biggest question is still unanswered. Was this really the full reckoning, or just the version they wanted the public to see? And if even half of what Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal are claiming is true, then what we watched on Netflix may not be the full documentary. It might just be the edited version of a much bigger truth. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this documentary exposed the truth? Or do you believe there's still something much bigger being hidden? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read everything. And also tell me this. Which country are you watching from right now? Type your country name in the comments. I'm curious to see how global this story really is. If you found this breakdown interesting, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive because trust me, this story is far from over.